Before you trust any doctor blindly, listen to this. And if you believe medical systems never lie, you should subscribe now, because this story proves how wrong that belief can be. My name is Ria. For months, I was told the same thing. You're overreacting. It's just stress. Your reports are normal. I was 29, healthy on paper. But every night, my body felt like it was failing me. The pain wasn't loud. That's why they ignored it. It was quiet, persistent, and getting worse. I went to the same hospital 3 times. Same doctor, same smile. Each time he looked at my file for less than a minute and said, "You're fine, go home." I started doubting myself until the day I collapsed in my bathroom and woke up surrounded by strangers. That's when one nurse whispered something she wasn't supposed to say. Why wasn't this caught earlier? That sentence changed everything, because the MRI they ran that night showed something my doctor had seen before and chosen not to report. What I uncovered next wasn't just negligence, it was a cover-up. And the hospital was counting on one thing: that I wouldn't survive long enough to ask questions. I didn't tell anyone about the MRI results at first. Not my family, not my friends, not even the doctor who looked concerned but cautious. Because what the scan showed wasn't just an injury, it was evidence. The doctor said my brother's prank, the shove that sent me crashing down the stairs, had caused internal damage that couldn't have happened from a simple fall. His exact words were, "This amount of force doesn't match an accident." That sentence stayed with me. At home, my brother joked about it, told everyone I was being dramatic. My parents laughed it off. "He didn't mean it. Brothers mess around. You're too sensitive." But I noticed something new. My brother stopped meeting my eyes. At night, when the house went quiet, I replayed that moment again and again. The push, the smirk, the way he said, "Relax, it's just a prank." I started remembering other things. The time he locked me in a room as a joke. The time he tripped me in front of guests. The way my pain always became entertainment. I requested the full medical report. Every detail, every timestamp. Then I asked for security footage from the house. My parents said there was none. That's when I checked the cloud backup myself. There it was. The video showed everything. No slip, no accident, just him waiting, watching, and pushing me with both hands. I felt sick, not just because of the injury, but because I finally understood something terrifying. This wasn't new behavior. It was just the first time it went too far. I sent the footage to my phone, backed it up, saved it in 3 different places. Then I did something my family never expected. I stayed quiet. I let my brother think he'd gotten away with it. I let my parents keep defending him. I let everyone believe I was healing. But inside, I was preparing. Because part 3 is when the hospital asked a question that changed everything. And my brother realized this was no longer a family matter. I thought the worst part was already over. I was wrong. The MRI report didn't just explain my pain, it opened a door I was never supposed to see. The doctor's voice was calm, too calm for what he was reading. He kept scrolling, zooming in. Then he looked at me and said, "This injury doesn't match an accident." I felt my stomach drop. He asked me again, "Are you sure you fell by yourself?" I hesitated because the truth suddenly felt dangerous. I told him what really happened, how my brother shoved me, laughed, called it a prank, and walked away. The doctor went silent. Then he said something that changed everything. This wasn't a simple push. There are older marks here. healing fractures, bruising patterns. Older. That word echoed in my head. I had been feeling pain for months. Headaches, dizziness, moments where the room spun and everyone told me I was being dramatic. I wasn't dramatic. I was injured, repeatedly, and someone in my own house knew it. The hospital called it non-accidental trauma. I called it betrayal. They kept me overnight for observation. No visitors allowed. That's when my phone exploded. Missed calls, messages, voicemails. My mother, "Why are doctors asking questions?" My father, "Don't say anything unnecessary." My brother, "You're taking this too far." Too far? I was lying in a hospital bed wired to machines, realizing my pain had been ignored because it was inconvenient. A nurse came in late that night. She sat beside my bed and said quietly, "I've seen this before. Families protect the wrong person." I started crying. Not loudly, just tears sliding down my face as everything finally made sense. The jokes, the shoves, the way everyone told me to let it go. They weren't protecting me. They were protecting him. The next morning, a hospital social worker came to see me. She asked one question, the only one that mattered. "Do you feel safe going home?" I opened my mouth and couldn't answer, because for the first time, I realized the truth. Home had never been safe. It was just familiar. I signed forms I barely understood. Consent, documentation, reports. Each signature felt like crossing a line I could never step back over. Before I was discharged, the doctor warned me, "If you go back into the same environment, this will happen again. Worse." I left the hospital with a brace, pain medication, and something heavier than any injury. Proof. And the people who hurt me had no idea what was coming next. Because part 4 is when the medical report stops being private and becomes impossible to ignore. I didn't sleep that night, not because of pain, but because of the silence. The MRI report was still on my phone, unopened, heavy. For years, my family had trained me to ignore my body, to ignore my instincts, to ignore myself. Stop being dramatic. You're fine. You just want attention. So I had learned to doubt pain, to apologize for it. The next morning, I went to the hospital alone. The waiting room smelled like disinfectant and fear. People flipping magazines, phones buzzing, someone coughing softly in the corner. When the doctor finally called my name, I could hear my heart in my ears. She sat across from me, not rushed, not distracted. She looked at the screen, then at me, and then she said, "I need you to listen carefully." That's when I knew. She explained it slowly, calmly, professionally. The fall wasn't harmless. The shove wasn't a joke. There was internal damage, pressure, something that had been building quietly for years. She said, "If you hadn't come in when you did, this could have ended very differently." Very differently. That phrase echoed louder than any diagnosis. I asked one question, the only one that mattered. Was this preventable? She nodded. If someone had taken your pain seriously earlier. I left the hospital with papers in my hand and clarity in my chest. I didn't cry. I went home and sat at the kitchen table where I had once been told to toughen up. I called my parents, not to accuse, not to yell, to inform. I told them what the doctor said, what the MRI showed, what could have happened. There was silence on the line. Then my mother said, "Well, your brother didn't mean it like that." That's when I realized something final. Intent didn't matter anymore. Impact did. I stopped explaining, stopped defending, stopped waiting for validation. I forwarded the medical reports, the timeline, the messages where I'd been dismissed, and then I stepped back. The truth doesn't need volume, it needs exposure. The family narrative cracked. Questions started forming. People stopped laughing about the prank. My brother avoided eye contact. My parents avoided conversations, not because they were sorry, but because they were exposed. Recovery was slow, painful, lonely. But for the first time, my body wasn't something I apologized for. It was something I protected. And here's the part no one tells you. Healing doesn't always come with closure. Sometimes it comes with distance. I didn't get a dramatic apology. I didn't get tears. I got freedom. Because once your pain is documented, once the truth is written in ink, no one gets to rewrite it as a joke. And the MRI didn't just show what was wrong with my body, it showed me exactly who had been willing to ignore it.